The Milwaukee Bucks season ended in the first round of the playoffs for the second year in a row, but they are still a top-tier team that will prove the Stephen A. Smiths of the world wrong.
Somebody say, Dame's not happy in Milwaukee, or something like that, and I know the truth, I love the situation that I'm in.
How's it going today? My name is Jesse McNamara, and welcome to Point of View. Before we get into it today, I just want to say we always appreciate your feedback and look forward to reading your comments like the one we've got here. Again, it's appreciated, but we don't need to encourage our producer. He does enough of that on his own. Also, be sure to stay tuned to the end of this episode to see if you can guess today's trivia question down below. To today's topic, can the Bucks win another NBA championship without breaking up their big three of Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, and Khris Middleton? A lot of the talking heads don't think so, including Stephen A., who said Lillard isn't happy in Milwaukee without providing any sort of evidence for that claim. In fact, Lillard had this to say after the Bucks were bounced from the playoffs.
Now that the season's come to an end, I'm looking at it and I'm excited that, me having the season that I had, I was almost 25 points a game, 7 assists. We almost won 50 games, given everything else. And people just, had a whole lot to say. And when I look at my performance, I know that I could have done a lot of things better. And I know that I'm going to have a full season of knowing what the coach I'm going to be playing for. Having a better idea of the guys that I'm going to be playing with. Being in Milwaukee, I've kind of settled into things here. So having a regular offseason and being able to actually, train and be able to do live stuff. Last year I couldn't do certain things because I couldn't get hurt because I knew I was going to get traded. So I think going into next season, they'll be really surprised that, how much of an impact all of these things actually did have. When they see me come back.
Regardless of what is said, us Bucks fans know that Stephen A. and the rest of the media do this every single year, so we can't take it too seriously, but I do agree that Milwaukee won't reach the finals again without some big changes, but more on that later. First, how did we get here? It all started last postseason when the Miami Heat took the Bucks out in 5 games and head coach Mike Budenholzer was subsequently fired. Coach Bud had established consistency in his time in Milwaukee and won a championship, so the future of the team was unclear. And it wasn't any more clear after they hired first-time head coach Adrian Griffin to oversee a title-contending roster. The Bucks re-signed most of their major pieces, so changing the way they played seemed like a tall task. And it only got taller when the Bucks made the blockbuster trade for Damian Lillard and sent out Drew Holiday and Grayson Allen about a month before the season. That's a huge piece of the puzzle that those media heads ignored. Dame knew he was going to be traded at some point over the summer and couldn't do his usual ramp-up before the season due to fear of injury. He then was given about 4 weeks to learn everything about the Bucks and get his feet under him. And that progress was basically thrown out the window once Griffin was fired and replaced by Doc Rivers in the middle of the season. Here's Dame on his up and down year.
It was a roller coaster of a year. But I think for me personally, it was a year of growth more than anything. My first time being a part of a different organization than the Trailblazers, after 11 years, picking up my life and, being away from my family and away from my kids, being traded so late into the summer, playing for multiple coaches, trying to find myself within, a new dynamic, a new team, a new organization, playing with another superstar player, another great player in K-Mid. So just trying to find my space within that with everything else happening all at the same time. I think it was a lot for me to fight through, but I take a lot of pride in standing tall, when things don't go as planned or go how I would like them to go. It was a long year of that for me. Just a lot of growth, a lot of getting used to new things.
And it wasn't easy for the rest of the Bucks either. They had an idea of what the team would look like going into the season and got the rug pulled out from under them. Here's what Middleton had to say about going into a full offseason with clear expectations.
It's going to be great that we have a lot of time where we can have conversations. We all can get on the same page. Even Dame. Dame came in, I think, a week before training camp. So that was a curveball also. So to get a full offseason where we know what to expect about, who's going to be in that building, have those conversations, get ready for next year. I think some type of continuity is going to be great for us.
This offseason is going to be huge for the Bucks, obviously, but that was far from the only reason they didn't live up to expectations. Of course, Giannis is the driving force, and without him, Milwaukee isn't going anywhere. He's played in about 2.5 of the Bucks' 11 postseason games these last 2 years, and his health has to be of the utmost importance going forward. Here's what Giannis said about he will treat the regular season to maintain his health.
Maybe I do, follow a different pattern, and maybe try different things, I don't like the word rest. Like, if I can play, I will play. If I cannot play, I can play, So this is what I always believe in. If I can move and I'm available, I'm not going to be available. I don't like when you miss a game in November so you can be available in April, because still you don't know if you're going to be available in April. Then you get to April and you're not available. You're like, why did I miss all those? I for sure going to sit down and think about it, of how my summer's going to look like and how next year is going to look like. And I'm thinking with my physio and the staff, I'm going to try to make the best decision possible for me to be available. But it's something that you cannot control.
So we will have to keep an eye on how Giannis handles the regular season going forward. But let's get to the real meat of the Bucks' issues. As much as people want to say Giannis isn't reliable anymore, Dame didn't want to be in Milwaukee in the first place, and Khris is too old and injury prone, their issues have nothing to do with those three. It's all about the others on the roster. You can put some of the blame on general manager John Horst, but he had created this roster in preparation for Griffin to be the coach and Holiday and Allen to be the starting backcourt. Once that was thrown out the window, the team didn't make any sense anymore. Of course, losing Drew and replacing him with Dame is a huge difference. Drew couldn't keep up offensively in the postseason, but his defense was unmatched. Dame, on the other hand, is almost entirely offensive-minded and could turn up the defense when needed, but nowhere near the level of Drew. A team that was once all about defending transformed into a team that needed to score a ton to win. And that's just not the way to win in the postseason. Even the teams that score a lot can rely on their defense when shots aren't going in. Just look at the Minnesota Timberwolves and Oklahoma City Thunder. The Bucks didn't have anywhere near enough defenders to keep up with the Indiana Pacers, and it cost them dearly. But this doesn't mean they should just trade players like Jay Crowder and Pat Connaughton for players that are perceived as better defenders. That's not how the Wolves and Thunder achieved their status as two of the best defensive teams in the league. The Bucks need to get more athletic players, and that probably means getting younger, as the Bucks were the second oldest team in the league entering the season. And Doc Rivers seems to agree. Here's what he said in his exit interview.
Every year you make changes. Again, it's too early for me to tell you what those changes are going to be, but clearly athleticism is probably one of the things at the top. But we don't need track athletes. We can go get those, from anywhere. We can go to the track. We need skill athletes, and I think that's going to be a very high focus for us.
Again, there's a lot of ways this can take place. It doesn't mean everyone outside of the big three needs to find a new team, but there's got to be a plan to get more athletic players who Doc and his staff can mold to fit their offensive and defensive schemes. I'll be really sad if Bobby Portis or Brook Lopez aren't on the team next season, but Horst has to do whatever it takes to utilize every single season that Giannis is on the roster. But even if that's just adding back Darvin Ham, that's a good start. And even if the changes aren't as big as some fans hope, an offseason of implementing Doc's full game plan and knowing generally what the roster composition will look like is going to make all the difference and put the Bucks right back into championship contention. So let the Stephen A's of the world do their talking. It's nothing new to Milwaukee. The Bucks will prove them wrong in due time, and all will be right in the 4-1-4. And don't worry, Bucks fans. At least we won't be seeing the Celtics hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy this year. If you want to know why they just don't have what it takes, check out our recent point of view. And the moment you've been waiting for, here's the answer to today's trivia question. We appreciate you tuning into this episode of Point of View, and we will see you in the next one.